20 years, National Trust Eco Fund. Youth or maturity?
If it were for a single person, we would say that they're in the transition from adolescence to youth.
When it's about an institution born in the dawn of a socio-economic and political transition, 20 years of age is adulthood. The beginning and before that.
The National Trust Eco Fund was established in 1995 to manage funds gathered through the mechanisms of transforming part of Bulgaria's debt into projects for environmental protection. The concrete terms of such a debt for environmental swap were laid down in an agreement between the governments of the Republic of Bulgaria and the Swiss Confederation dated 25th of October 1995.
Не можем да говорим за българската идея за свапова сделка.
We cannot speak about a Bulgarian idea laying behind such a swap deal. It's about a Bulgarian debt that has been guaranteed by the state. We owe this swap debt for environment to the wealthy creditors of the Paris Club. It is not a Bulgarian idea, and no one should take the credit for it. That would be undermining the true meaning and integrity of Bulgarian environmentalists and diplomats, financial experts, and various teams possessing very high human values. We owe it also to the efforts of the wonderful Bulgarian lobbyist at the World Bank at that time, Ms. Kristalina Georgieva. Back in 1991, I was assigned by the government to attend a meeting held in the Zobrich Castle in the Czech Republic. There was a small scandal. The Polish minister did not respond to my request to share Polish experience in the area. Being true to my choleric nature, I stood up right away and in front of the World Bank representative, I think it was Mr. Goring, declared that we, the participants around the table, represented a miniature model of a future community that would not prosper with primitive competition and cooperation models. And if for any reason Poland was nominated to be the model of transition, we from Eastern Europe were disenchanted with such types of models, and we expected to have some legality in our relations. I recall how Mr. Goring took me to the cocktail party and, over a glass of white wine, told me that he was expecting a Bulgarian deal. It was very important, however, that the World Bank undertook the role of an intermediary. This was a crucial condition for the procedure. The Swiss government made an exceptional political gesture which helped Bulgaria to become the second country in the world to be granted such a debt for environment swap deal. The deal encompassed over 20% of the country's debt to a group of private Swiss banks. The gesture of the Swiss Confederation government was that, instead of writing it off, which was impossible, it was to become state-owned. That was how the political conditions had been put in place so that Bulgaria was able to establish its National Trust Eco Fund. It was a trust fund because its stature, as per the donor's terms, required independence of the new institution from the government. Management.
Pursuant to the law on environmental protection and the regulation on the structure and activities of the fund, management of the National Trust Eco Fund is exercised at 3 levels. Management Board, Advisory Council and Executive Bureau.
Може би най-важният орган за управление на Националния доверителен екофонд е управителния съвет.
The most important body of the National Trust Eco Fund is the Management Board. And I stress here the Management Board of the Eco Fund because, as per the law and the regulation, this is the body that actually makes the most important decisions leading to the exercise of the fund's functions. The composition of the Management Board is also prescribed by law and encompasses 3 deputy ministers from 3 relevant ministries. Over the course of time, they have changed slightly depending on the fund's functions. Then there is a representative of the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences, a representative of NGOs who is nominated under a rather complex procedure to be followed by various NGOs, and a very important board member, a representative of the Association of Municipalities. Board members perceive the decisions they make with utmost responsibility. They come to board meetings prepared. When I say prepared, I don't mean by someone else, but by themselves. They study the topics of discussions in advance. In parallel to the Management Board, there is a council, which in fact is a council of donors. They participate in Management Board sessions and share their views and opinions. Usually they are asked for opinions in advance.
The Executive Bureau implements the decisions of MB regarding project funding. In those 20 years, the Bureau has not been numerous, between 6 and 14 permanent job positions. In fact, the largest number has never been reached. There are 3 departments: Program Management and Administration Department, Project Management Department, and Financial Department. The Bureau has always relied on the efficient operations and high level of professionalism and motivation of the team. Recently, we have parted with an unforgettable friend and co-worker, an exceptional expert favored by all beneficiaries, Mr. Radoslav Ivanov.
The programs.
So far, the National Trust Eco Fund has financed projects under 4 programs: Debt for Environment, a pilot program for environmental rehabilitation, Protected Areas Fund, National Green Investment Scheme.
Debt for Environment program.
Суаповата сделка беше договорена.
The swap deal was negotiated. The fund was established as prescribed by law. At the time, there was an Article 3B in the law on environmental protection which stipulated precisely the terms of setting up such a fund and its functions, namely to manage funds acquired from donor sources and to finance projects dedicated to environmental protection.
Next came a difficult period of collecting project proposals. It was a time of a huge need for investments in environmental protection. However, these needs were outlined just as ideas. There were no studies, no estimates, no implementation plans. The understanding and patience of the Swiss partners helped us overcome this period of hardship, despite their initial expectations that since there was an institution established and funds were made available, projects would simply be implemented. In mid-90s, we had no experience in project management, so capacity building and project implementation ran hand in hand.
For the 15-year period of the swap agreement, the NTEF has funded 100 projects. The total amount of approved funding is 26,500,000 Bulgarian leva. The NTEF's share in financing projects is on average 19%. It has been an explicit requirement on the part of the Swiss partners never to exceed 30%. The remaining portion of project funding has been provided from other sources. In fact, the total budget of all projects exceeds 120 million Bulgarian leva.
Projects implemented are in 4 priority areas.
Cleanup of historical pollution, 19 projects.
These projects refer to hazardous waste treatment and closure and recovery of old landfills.
През 2007 година община Петрич кандидатства пред Националния доверителен екофонд.
In 2007, Petrich Municipality applied for funding from the National Trust Eco Fund with a project proposal for recovery of 5 unregulated landfills on the territory of Petrich Municipality. With the support of NTEF, we succeeded in recovering the landfills in 5 villages, namely Камена, Първомай, Кромидово, Марикостиново, and Кърналово. At the moment, we are at the place of the largest recovered landfill in Камена village. You can see for yourself, right behind me. It no longer looks like a dumping area. The landfill has been closed and recovered, and now it is a meadow.
Тук зад мене се намираха едни огромни купчини с строителни отпадъци.
Right behind me, there were piles of construction waste, along with domestic waste dumped, unfortunately, by the citizens of Karlovo town. Thanks to the fund and their support, we were able to clean up the area and beautify it, since it is at the entrance to the town, coming from Sofia to the town of Sopot.
Сопот в един хубав, така приличен вид.
Предстоеше да се рекултивира първото депо, което беше неорганизирано.
We had to recover the first landfill, which was poorly organized. We addressed the National Trust Eco Fund for financial support, and they responded to our request. After project completion, we continued monitoring the area regarding all environmental parameters, such as air and soil infiltrates, and so on. So far, there have been no pollutants detected. We control methane levels. There are no hazardous emissions in the air, in the soil, and in the environment as a whole.
Reduce air pollution and mitigate climate change, 44 projects.
The projects include introduction of natural gas to municipal buildings, gas purification installations, supply and mounting of low nitrogen burners for boilers.
Беше реализиран проекта нискоазотни горивни системи в ТЕЦ София Изток.
A project was implemented regarding the installation of low nitrogen burning systems in the thermal power plant in Sofia East. We negotiated with the Danish Environmental Protection Agency, the National Trust Eco Fund, the Ministry of the Environment and Water, and we finally agreed to allocate funds so that we could implement such a project. With the implementation of the project, we succeeded in achieving the following results. Hazardous emissions from natural gas burning were reduced by 64%. Hazardous emissions from petrol burning, namely high-sulfur black oil burning, were reduced by 30%. Efficiency of heat generation systems was improved by 1%. Furthermore, operational safety and reliability of the systems was also enhanced. Clean water protection, 15 projects.
The projects involve a pump station for wastewater, 2 wastewater purification stations, 6 main sewage manifolds with a total length of 9,752 meters, and 7 discharge manifolds with a total length of 7,046 meters. The main sewage manifolds for Biala town and the supply of manifolds for Obzor Purification Station were co-financed by the Danish Environmental Protection Agency.
Biodiversity preservation, 22 projects.
3 of them refer to research. 6 are for setting up eco-trails with a total length of 34,930 meters. 4 are for reintroducing the Balkan wild goat. 4 are for rehabilitation of natural habitats. 2 are for rehabilitation of water ecosystems. And there are 3 more projects.
Дирекцията на Национален парк Централен Балкан имаше едно изключително успешно партньорство с Националния доверителен екофонд.
The directorate of the Central Balkan National Park had a very successful partnership with the National Trust Eco Fund. It started in year 2000 and continued up to 2009-2010. This was a period when the funding sources for environmental protection activities were rather scarce and not that powerful. And by that, I mean not like the current operational programs. At the time, the NTEF provided us with a very valuable and important funding tool. I may say that we used it quite successfully. And I believe that it enabled us to set up some exemplary projects from the perspective of both project philosophy and project implementation. Projects that actually paved the way for other similar endeavors that were multiplied all across the country.
Написахме проект, с който искахме и го направихме след това, разбира се.
We prepared a project proposal, and after it was approved, we implemented the project. It was about connecting the closest village to the Ivanovsky Rock Monastery's archaeological reserve. We have walked the road so many times, and we knew only too well what we needed. Anytime we consider drafting a project proposal, we are driven by our needs. That is how we first designed a route that coincided with the trail preferred by tourists. Then we focused on locations that were most interesting to tourists and designed a shelter, a rest spot. It turned out that the route was used by fishermen, and we designed a place to shelter them as well.
The pilot program for environmental remediation.
Това беше подготвената програма за
This was a preparatory program for environmental remediation in the area of the copper refinery, MDK, in Pirdop. It was not a project, but a very complex program related to the privatization of the plant. The NTEF was engaged by the government of Bulgaria and by the World Bank as an institution for the coordination and control of overall activity, and to supervise the release of funds from the special account. This was a difficult and high responsibility task to organize, since the NTEF was a small institution. The program included several projects, more than 20 tender procedures, some of which amounting to more than $10 million. The NTEF was responsible not only for the control of the funds, but also for the proper conduct of the tenders. This was one of the good points of the Swiss swap. At that stage, there were no free funds for urgent measures in the region of Pirdop. It involved several issues that could lead to environmental disaster. As a matter of fact, this happened 2 years later in Hungary, where a plant for the production of non-ferrous metals discharged its wastewaters into the river and from there into the Danube. The situation with the Blue Lagoon was similar. This was something like a lake full of poisonous and toxic materials, which was on the verge of collapse, crossing the Sofia-Burgas road and flowing through the region. The Blue Lagoon was consolidated using money from the fund. All damages were repaired. These were complex projects carried out in the area of MDK Pirdop and slightly beyond it, but all harmful implications were liquidated appropriately. This was important for the people of the area. Moreover, this was accomplished with no reallocation and compromising of the public funds. Thirdly, the project was valued highly by the World Bank. According to their standards, and compared with other World Bank projects all over the world, it was ranked among the most successful ones. Protected Areas Fund.
Фонд защитени територии.
The Protected Areas Fund, PAF, was created in 2004 within the NTEF framework. The project to develop and start the PAF was initiated and accomplished with the assistance of USAID, with which the NTEF cooperated very well.
PAF strategy envisions the funds raised to be managed in one of the following ways. As a regenerating trust fund in which only the funds generated from the investment of the assets are used for projects, thus ensuring sustainability of the financial resource for the protected areas of Bulgaria. As a depleting fund which receives and directly allocates donations to finance the protected areas. For PAF capitalization, several fundraising campaigns have been organized, including a cycling tour in the Real National Park and a winter march in snowshoes in the Central Balkan National Park. The funds raised have been used for the co-financing of two projects. One of them for the reintroduction of the Balkan wild goat in the Vitosha Nature Park, and the other for the restoration of landscape and for anti-erosion consolidation of Bulgarka Nature Park.
National Green Investment Scheme.
Това, по което работи Националният доверителен екофонд, което е известно на практика на всички, е схемата за зелени инвестиции, така наречената схема за зелени инвестиции, която
This, on which the NTEF is working now, is the so-called Green Investment Scheme, NGIS. The scheme is the basis for the sale and purchase of assigned amount units, AAUs, in compliance with the Kyoto Protocol. What is the reason for the successful accomplishment of the sale and purchase of free AAUs between the Republic of Bulgaria and the Republic of Austria? On the one hand, the professional attitude of the MEW and the active search for buyers of AAUs. On the other hand, another key factor for the two deals was the availability of the NTEF as a specific and specialized institution for the management of similar funds. We have applied best practice. The projects, which do not fully meet our requirements, were reworked and improved with our help. This style of working will continue in the future for similar projects. The expectations on the part of the government of Bulgaria, with regard to the fund related to the two deals with the Republic of Austria, have been met. The majority of the projects have been successfully implemented and a saving of funds has been made. Another important consequence: the trust of the Austrian government has also not been betrayed. It has been reconfirmed during the work process.
Until now, the improvement of the energy efficiency of 77 public buildings all over the country has been financed. These are schools, kindergartens, cultural community centers, universities, medical facilities, administrative buildings, a theater, a sport hall, and so on, amounting to a total of over 27 million Bulgarian leva, while the share of NTEF subsidy in each of them is 85%. Financing has been also provided to two projects for production of energy from renewable energy sources following the de minimis rule.
Проекта с Националния доверителен екофонд за реконструкция и прилагане на мерки за енергийна ефективност.
The project with NTEF for reconstruction of the multi-profile hospital for active treatment, MHAT, in Kazanlыk, is one of the extremely successful projects of our municipality. It is also quite valuable for MHAT because it provides services not only to Kazanlыk, but also to 5 neighboring municipalities. Many sick people pass through this hospital on a daily basis. Using the money under the project, a complete reconstruction of all the wards has been accomplished. Having that in mind, I would like to express special gratitude to the project team and NTEF.
Намираме се пред сградата на многопрофилната болница в град Момчилград.
We are now in front of the building of the Multi-Profile Hospital for Active Treatment, MHAT, Momchilgrad. Thanks to financing from NTEF, we have managed to complete an overhaul of the hospital. Before that, we had old wooden joinery and an unheated building, as well as high heating costs. We were using approximately 80 tons of oil per annum, and each patient had to bring his or her own electric heater. It was cold and uncomfortable. Since last year, we have a heated building and satisfied patients. Many of the people have returned to our hospital rather than having to travel to the hospital in Kardjali. Using the funds provided, amounting to 764,000 Bulgarian leva, we have managed to fully replace the windows and doors and to add external heat insulation, as well as to install a brand new heating system using pellets. We've also installed solar collectors. We have hot water all the time and a wonderful renovated building.
Господ е надарил с парява баня с най-горещата минерална вода в континентална Европа, 103 градуса.
Saporeva Banya is endowed with the hottest waters, 103 degrees centigrade, on the territory of continental Europe. The municipal buildings are heated with mineral water. In 2003, a heat pipeline was built supplying heat to the school, municipal administration, and the cultural community centre. In 2002, a project for heating the kindergarten was developed and implemented. Many years have passed since that time, and the heat supply network has become amortized. This year, reconstruction of the heat pipeline was made, as well as of the substations in the buildings. Everything has been properly and duly replaced. Heat loss has been reduced from 40 degrees to less than 10 degrees centigrade.
The school building was refurbished 2 years ago with extremely good effect. The building is quite warm and the energy costs are reduced. Savings in the school budget and reallocation to other spheres are accomplished. Using these savings, almost 100% of the material base has been renewed. The pupils are also quite pleased to see the nice-looking building and to study in it.
Използвам повода да изкажа моята благодарността на Ардинската.
I'm taking advantage of the occasion to extend the gratitude of Ardino municipality for the energy efficiency projects implemented. With the two projects, the energy costs of the municipality have been drastically reduced. We have also managed to improve the appearance of the buildings, schools, dormitories and gymnasiums. We have also undertaken and implemented refurbishment of the hospital, energy efficiency measures and improvement of the outlook.
През 2013 година съвместно с националния доверителен.
In 2013, together with the NTEF, we implemented a project on the territory of Petronica village, the refurbishment of the whole building and that of the neighboring cultural community center. This proved to be a wonderful and well-done job, accompanied by very good collaboration between the parties involved. For a second winter now, we've been paying 50 to 60% less to heat the municipal building and the cultural center.
In 2014, Pavel Banya municipality had the chance to work with NTEF under the project for energy efficiency of the educational infrastructure on the territory of Pavel Banya. The project included 6 schools, separated in 5 sites. We are happy with the results, and with the joint work with NTEF, we intend to continue in this direction. In 2015, the municipality of Pavel Banya is also going to apply again for energy efficiency project for the infrastructure of kindergartens within the municipality.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, maybe just a few general remarks on the Austrians' attitude towards the big challenge of climate change. I think we are all aware that climate change is a global challenge. It's a challenge for the whole of the world. Extreme weather conditions, floods, storms, and so on, they will never stop at the border of countries, so we have to take global action. And we are doing this in the framework of the European Union. I think we are very ambitious here. And we are cooperating as well with countries like Bulgaria. We do this within the European Union, but we do this also on a bilateral basis, and we have just completed, I think, a very successful project. We are very happy about this project. And it was actually, I would say, a win-win situation. This, so to speak, national green investment scheme. It was helpful on the one hand for Austria to fulfill the goals under the Kyoto Protocol, and on the other hand it was, I think, very helpful as well for Bulgaria, because it made available quite a number of funds to take measures as far as energy efficiency is concerned. Coming now to the concrete project, I have to say they were really exactly what had to be done. The money was used in a very, I would say, efficient way. Almost 80 public buildings could be improved as far as energy efficiency measures were concerned. And from the Austrian side, from the Austrian partners, which means the Austrian Ministry of Environment and also the agency, was extremely happy and satisfied with the cooperation with Bulgaria as a general, with the Ministry of Environment, and in particular with the National Trust Eco Fund. The fund has really very well chosen the projects. All the projects were successfully implemented, and I think this is also from the official Austrian point of view, a very successful and fruitful cooperation. As far as the future is concerned, we still don't know how the negotiations on the big climate change agreement will end at the end. I mean, we all hope that in Paris a binding global agreement will be reached. And according to the outcome of the Paris conference, there will be also national legislation in my country how to implement the results of the hopefully good outcome of the Paris conference. Finally, as I have learned that this year will be the 20th anniversary of the National Trust Eco Fund, let me express my very sincere congratulations on this occasion. It is, I think, a great fund. I have heard from the Austrian partners of the fund, the cooperation over the last years was more than successful, and I think I'm also able to transfer their congratulations on this very happy occasion.
The assessments. From review and assessment of the National Trust Eco Fund submitted by Equilibrium Consulting GmbH on the order of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, September 2003, under the Stability Pact.
The NTEF is a well-managed and highly effective public institution, environmental financing institution with few weaknesses and many strengths, making it a uniquely valuable institution in Bulgaria. With a clear and tangible government support, the fund has the potential to perform a much greater role in mobilizing and managing the financial resources needed to meet the environmental challenges of EU accession.
From assessment of the National Trust Eco Fund and the Debt for Environment Swap Agreement submitted by Ecoris C Research and Consulting, January 2011.
To a large extent, the NTEF has performed very well in terms of relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, sustainability, and impact reaching. The activities of the NTEF were also largely in line with the good practices of public environmental expenditure management. What is truly impressive is that the fund managed to maintain high professionalism and achieve its objectives in a very complicated context, which is endemic for all countries in transition. Due to its performance, the NTEF built an impressive reputation among international institutions and donors.
Public relations.
For almost 15 years, NTEF has financially supported the dissemination in the Bulgarian language of the annual report of the World Watch International Institute, The Status of the Planet. In 2006, an annual prize for environmental protection for youth in the name of Mimi Pramatarova was initiated. She was the first director of Rila National Park. The award-winning literary works are published in 3 compendiums.
Foresight.
During 2014, NTEF adopted its development strategy for 2014-2020. The mission of the fund is preserved, and it is to contribute to the environmental protection in the Republic of Bulgaria. The strategic goal for the period is to establish NTEF as one of the main factors in shaping and implementing environmental protection policies.
To this end, NTEF has directed its efforts towards the successful implementation of its commitments under the as of now active NGIS, within the framework of agreements between Austria and Bulgaria, related to the sale of assigned amount units, AAUs, as well as towards the fulfillment of its obligations within the framework of other financial mechanisms, stipulated in the Climate Change Mitigation Act.
Together with this, NTEF is undertaking actions to attract other donors and programs in all the priority environmental protection areas in which it has managed to accumulate experience.